Welcome to the program. You're with Rise News in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Ahead over the next 30 minutes, all of the global headlines you need to know about. I'm Folake Adesugba. Rise News now begins. And our top stories. President Donald Trump's ex-lawyer gives substantial help in how Russian nationals tried to affect the 2016 election. Plus, the chief financial officer of the Chinese telecoms giant Huawei faces fraud charges in the United States. And official figures from the World Health Organization show that road accidents are now the biggest single killer of children and young people in the world, and it's worse in Africa and Asia. And our top story, Donald Trump's former lawyer could face a substantial jail term despite cooperating in the Robert Mueller investigation. U.S. prosecutors say Michael Cohen had pleaded guilty of evading taxes and paying an adult film performer hush money on Trump's behalf in August. He has been cooperating with special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into alleged collusion between Russia and Mr. Trump's 2016 presidential election campaign. Mr. Mueller is expected to make a separate sentence shortly, recommending that Cohen be charged with lying to Congress about discussions concerning a Trump Organization construction project in Moscow. And President Trump's chief of staff is set to exit the White House in the next few days. Former Army General John Kelly was brought into the White House in July 2017 to steady the ship, but it's reported he's no longer in speaking terms with his boss. Mr. Trump has so far refused to confirm or deny if Mr. Kelly is about to resign. He did, however, speak about two new appointments. The president is nominating William Barr to replace Jeff Sessions as Attorney General and one State Department spokeswoman, and former Fox TV News anchor Heather Nauert to become the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations.
I'll be going to Kansas City. We'll be traveling to Missouri. I'm making a speech on law enforcement, very important subject. I want to confirm that Bill Barr, one of the most respected jurists in the country, highly respected lawyer, former Attorney General under the Bush administration, a terrific man, a terrific person, a brilliant man. I did not know him until recently when I went through the process of looking at people, and he was my first choice from day one. Respected by Republicans and respected by Democrats. He will be nominated for the United States Attorney General, and hopefully that process will go very quickly, and I think it will go very quickly, and I've seen very good things about him even over the last day or so when people thought that it might be Bill Barr. So Bill Barr will be nominated for the United States Attorney General position. I think he will serve with great distinction. I also want to inform you that Heather Nauert, somebody that we know very well, who's done a great job as working with Mike Pompeo and others over at the State Department. Heather Nauert will be nominated. She's going to work with Nikki Haley to replace Nikki at the United Nations. She'll be ambassador to the United Nations. She's very talented, very smart, very quick, and I think she's going to be respected by all. So Heather Nauert will be nominated for the ambassador to the United Nations. Those are two very big ones. I have another one for tomorrow that I'm going to be announcing at the Army-Navy game. I can give you a little hint. It will have to do with the Joint Chiefs of Staff and succession. And I look forward to telling you, and I'll see you later. I'll see you in Kansas City.
And special counsel Robert Mueller is to reveal more details about his Russia investigation as he faces court deadlines in the cases of two men who worked closely with President Trump. Court memos is set to be filed detailing the cooperation of longtime Trump personal lawyer Michael Cohen. Mr. Mueller's team will also be disclosing what former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort lied about when his plea deal fell apart last month. Cohen and Manafort are among 5 former Trump associates who prosecutors have accused of lying either to federal investigators or to Congress. And still on Trump is in Missouri to address the National Conference on Crime. Trump is delivering the closing address Friday at the 2018 Project Safe Neighborhoods National Conference in Kansas City, Missouri. The White House says Project Safe Neighborhoods is the centerpiece of the department's strategy for reducing violent crime. The program encourages federal, state, and local law enforcement officials to work together on crime reduction strategies. During his remarks, the president repeated comments that he intends to nominate William Barr, former President George H.W. Bush's Attorney General, to serve in the same role.
I was also thrilled to announce earlier today that I am nominating, as Matt said, William Barr to take the helm as our new Attorney General. He's an outstanding man. Bill previously led the Justice Department with distinction as Attorney General under George H.W. Bush, following his unanimous confirmation by the United States Senate. During his tenure, he demonstrated an unwavering adherence to the rule of law, which the people in this room like to hear. There's no one more capable or more qualified for this role. He deserves overwhelming bipartisan support. I suspect he'll probably get it. This initiative brings law enforcement, community groups, and local leaders together to get the most violent criminals in the most dangerous areas off the streets and behind bars. After many years of neglect, we are bringing back this life-saving program stronger than ever before. Today is the first nationwide meeting of Project Safe Neighborhoods in 8 years. You know, I keep listening to the fake news that they won the House. Nobody ever talks about the Senate. We won the Senate easily. In fact, we picked up 2, and that hasn't been done in a long time. For a person is president, you just, for whatever reason, that doesn't happen very often, and we have the Senate now 53 to 47, and we're very proud of that. But you never hear that. You only hear the House. And the nice part about having the Senate is when you have the Senate, your judges, you know, we've appointed many judges. We're just about at a record clip ever. And by the time I finish, we should have the all-time record, except, of course, on a percentage basis. You know who the best of all was, right? George Washington. 100%. He picked 100% of the judges. That's the only one that I won't be beating. Everyone here today is committed to the same vital goal: liberating our communities from crime and securing the right of all citizens to live in safety and to live in peace. In the 2 years before I took office, the violent crime rate increased by 7%, and murders were up by over 20%. But we're turning it around very quickly, much quicker than anyone thought possible. At the core of our strategy is restoring respect for law enforcement. And there's nobody that deserves respect more than you people, that I can tell you. For too long, many politicians and radical activists have been smearing and slandering our police, making life easier for criminals and harder for law-abiding Americans. We will not tolerate attacks on the heroes who protect our streets and defend our communities. We will not allow it to happen.
All right, it's time for a short break now, but do stay with us. Plenty more still ahead on Arise News Now.
Nigeria. We are 198 million productive people with over 900,000 square kilometers of fertile land. Nigeria's banking system has emerged strong and resilient from the 2016 crisis, which has enhanced our productivity in agribusiness and manufacturing. Come, invest in Nigeria's agribusiness, manufacturing, and value-added mining. Enjoy the Central Bank of Nigeria-led initiatives in funding interventions, stabilized exchange rate, friendly capital repatriation regime, and many more. The Central Bank of Nigeria's robust monetary policy and interventions under President Buhari's administration had positioned the economy to target and attain a GDP growth of 6% with a strong and growing external reserves. Come, invest in Nigeria. Nigeria, ready for business.
Welcome back to Rise News Now, live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. I'm Folake Adesugba. And now the chief financial officer of the Chinese telecoms giant Huawei faces fraud charges in the United States. A Canadian court hearing has revealed. Meng Wanzhou, daughter of Huawei's founder, is accused of breaking American sanctions on Iran. She was arrested in Vancouver on Saturday and faces extradition to the U.S. China has demanded Mrs. Meng's release, insisting she has not violated any laws. The court is deciding whether or not to allow bail. Her detention became public knowledge on Wednesday, but details at the time were unclear as she had requested a publication ban. That blackout has now been overturned by the court. China has demanded her release, calling the arrest a human rights violation.
China has expressed our solemn position to Canada and the US regarding the case. China demands them to immediately clarify the reason for the arrest, release the detainee, and safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of the detainee.
Elsewhere, Pearl Harbor survivors, dignitaries, and the public have been remembering those killed in the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor 77 years ago. About 20 Pearl Harbor survivors observed a moment of silence at 7:55 a.m. Friday during a ceremony at Pearl Harbor. That's the same moment the bombing began on December 7, 1941. The youngest of the survivors are now in their mid-90s, but most stood to salute for the national anthem. U.S. Indo-Pacific Commander Adam Phil Davidson told those gathered the nation can never forget the heavy price paid with 21 vessels damaged or sunk, 170 planes destroyed, and more than 2,400 killed, including servicemen and civilians.
We can never forget the heavy price paid 77 years ago. 21 vessels damaged or sunk, 170 planes destroyed, more than 2,400 dead and 1,200 wounded, soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and civilians. Despite these heavy losses, it did not break the American spirit. In fact, it charged it. We quickly prepared for the long, hard war to come. Just over a year after the attack here, in his 1943 State of the Union speech, President Franklin Roosevelt spoke of the challenges that remained, saying, "The past year was perhaps the most crucial for modern civilization. The coming year will be filled with violent conflicts, yet with high promise of better things." We are sadly losing a number of these heroes. Among many others, we lost Ray Emery in August, and over the Thanksgiving holiday just 2 short weeks ago, at 106 years young, we lost Ray Chavez. And just a week ago today, we lost another member of the greatest generation with the passing of President George Herbert Walker Bush. As you all saw during the eulogies over the past week, President Bush embodied that unconquerable spirit. And as a Navy pilot and World War II veteran, he shared a special bond with Pearl Harbor survivors.
In other events, a Texas sheriff's deputy and several Good Samaritans teamed up to rescue a man from his burning pickup truck following a crash in North Texas. Kaufman County Deputy Coroner Martin Bodycam recorded the frantic moments as he worked to free the man whose leg was pinned. The pickup crashed into a semi-trailer in Terrell, about 30 miles east of Dallas. The driver was taken to the hospital and treated for leg injuries and burns. And now the number of road deaths in Africa is almost 3 times that of Europe. That's according to a new report from the World Health Organization, which once again shows the continent has the world's worst road safety record. Botswana, Ivory Coast, and Cameroon are countries where death rates have increased, while Egypt, Angola, Burkina Faso, and Burundi are among those that have seen a reduction. In Ghana, almost half of those killed are pedestrians. In Ethiopia and Kenya, this is 37%. The report also shows that globally, road traffic accidents are the biggest killer for children and young adults aged between 5 and 29. Let's talk business news now. OPEC finally broke an impasse over production curbs, agreeing on a larger than expected cut with allies after 2 days of fractious negotiations in Vienna. The cartel and its partners agreed to remove 1.2 million barrels a day from the market, with OPEC itself shouldering 800,000 barrels of the burden. Iran emerged as a winner from the contentious talks, saying it secured an exemption from cuts as it suffers the effects of U.S. sanctions. Members of the Michigan congressional delegation have met with the chief executive of General Motors for the first time since the automaker said it wants to close the Detroit area factory that makes the Volt. Democratic lawmakers told reporters that they focused the meeting on workers, while Mary Barra emerged to tell the media that GM had made tremendous investment in the United States and wanted to help workers whose jobs are at stake.
Silverado and GMC Sierra.
Detailed conversation. I think we were pretty unified in that we were disappointed in the decision. I can speak for myself. I felt that there's a strong message that we want to have a bias much more in favor of U.S. production. And when it comes to the country that stepped up when the company needed help, we were there, and we feel like there's a unique and special obligation to make sure that as the company moves forward that we invest in American workers. And I'll just say this, the U.S. Congress didn't step up to save the American auto industry in order to protect jobs in Mexico. We did it for American workers, and they ought to be the beneficiaries.
I feel like we had a very productive meeting. It was good for me to be able to go through everything that is going on. As I've said, our focus is on the workers. We made the announcement when we did to give them the maximum opportunity for other opportunities we have within the company.
You received a taxpayer bailout. You benefited from the tax cuts. Are you holding up your end of the bargain?
Since 2009, General Motors has invested $22 billion in the United States. Quite a bit of that has been in Michigan, which is where our home is. But we have invested, and we have several new products launching right now and upcoming. So we have made tremendous investment. And the thing that I best need to do to make sure I'm living up to that and to the U.S. taxpayers, to whom we will be forever grateful, is to make sure General Motors is strong going forward. We continue to manufacture, we continue to provide jobs, and we make sure we meet all of our commitments. And that's what I intend to do.
Now let's look at a bit of light news and entertainment. The first trailer for the fourth and final Avengers movie in the current Marvel Cinematic Universe, Avengers Endgame, has been released. The movie is directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, who also helmed the previous installment, Infinity War. The film sees the return of characters including Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and Black Widow for potentially the last time in their current iteration. The new trailer also shows Paul Rudd's Ant-Man joining the Avengers in their fight for the future of the galaxy. Avengers Endgame hits UK theaters on the 26th of April 2019 and following the US on the 3rd of May.
Thanos did exactly what he said he was going to do. He wiped out 50% of all living creatures.
We lost, all of us. We lost friends, we lost family. We lost a part of ourselves. This is the fight of our lives.
This is gonna work, Steve.
I know it is. Because I don't know what I'm gonna do if it doesn't.
Looks quite riveting. Well, the nominations for this year's Grammy Awards have been announced. Kendrick Lamar and Drake lead this year's nominations with 8 and 7 respectively. The nominations for Lamar, who swept last year's ceremony, are for his work on the Black Panther soundtrack. Canadian rapper Drake is up for Song of the Year for God's Plan and Album of the Year for Scorpion. 5 women have been nominated for Album of the Year, including Janelle Monáe.
Another envelope here. This is for Album of the Year. And the nominees are Invasion of Privacy, Cardi B. By the Way, I Forgive You, Brandy Carlisle. Scorpion, Drake. Her, by Her. Beer Bongs and Bentleys. Dirty Computer, Janelle Monáe.
Oh my God, really?
Yes. Oh, yay. Golden Hour by Casey Musgraves and Black Panther, the album with Kendrick Lamar as the featured artist. And to see your reaction, congratulations to be nominated for Album of the Year. How does that feel? I mean, because this is such an album about female empowerment.
This album is so much bigger than me. You know, it's not, I'm sorry. It's not about me, it's about a community of dirty computers, of marginalized voices. Being a young black queer woman in America, there was something I had to say, and there was a group of people that I wanted to celebrate, and I'm happy to be representing them. I hope they feel seen, I hope they feel heard, I hope they feel loved, and I hope they feel celebrated.
They're feeling all that
for you.
Feeling all that this morning and celebrating with you. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
All right, let's look at all the action packed in sports. Former professional road racing cyclist Lance Armstrong says an early investment in Uber has saved his family after paying out $111 million in legal fees and settlements. The 47-year-old American was stripped off his 7 Tour de France titles and banned from cycling for life in 2012 before admitting to using performance-enhancing drugs. He says he gave $100,000 to a venture capital fund that invested in the ride-hailing app in 2010. Armstrong, who has 5 children, did not say how much he had earned from his Uber investment, but added it was, and I quote, "too good to be true." And that's it for this edition of Arise News Now. Thank you for being a part of the program. Do stay with us on the channel. I'm Folake Adesugba. From me and the entire team in Abuja and London, that's goodbye for now.